Kia ora and welcome to the Language Fuel Podcast. This is Season 3 and this is episode number 6. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've been working quite hard at in my own life, which is just in general making progress. And I've come across a really great nugget, which I think is actually the key to making progress. So that's what we're going to call this podcast, the key to making progress. And it's for any area of life, although obviously we will be relating this to language learning and sort of teaching in the sense that you'll be teaching your learners to make progress. I subscribe to some online courses. I love online courses that they have made the world smaller. So even down here in New Zealand, where we're geographically removed from a lot of the world, we have access to teachers, coaches, mentors, through online courses. Obviously, that's the model that we're working at Language Fuel as well. We want to make courses accessible to anybody, wherever in the world they are, hence our English language teaching training library, where we have the whole library of online courses that you can access whenever. And we've also got the language learning training library for those of you who are learning another language and need help to know, oh my goodness, what's my next step? So, that's our modus operandi here at Language Fuel. And I certainly, myself personally, also subscribe to many online courses for various aspects of my life. Anyway, one of them recently had an amazing nugget, which has really stuck with me over the past couple of weeks. And it basically says to make progress in whatever area it is that you'd like to make progress in, there's two things that need to be held in really close balance. The first one is facing current reality squarely, knowing exactly the facts, being 100% realistic about where you're at now. The other half of that coin, if you like, is having a dream, dreaming about where you want to go, dreaming about what the next step is for you, and very carefully managing those. So another way to put it is to face reality and create reality. So as an example, if we're talking about, say, financial issues, you need to know exactly what your numbers are, what your income is, what your expenses are. In a business, same sort of thing, knowing exactly what all of your current ingoings and outgoings are, and then where you want to go, and so on. Weight loss, knowing exactly how much you weigh, how much exercise you're doing now, tracking steps, and all of that sort of stuff. Be 100% dedicated to that current reality so that you know how to move forward into the dream that you have for yourself. So, and actually, this is a very powerful tool I have found, being very realistic, because if you get any one of them out of balance, if you're too committed to the current reality, it can be quite depressing, because we know we want to be somewhere else, right? If we want to make progress in our life in any aspect. On the other hand, if you just stick to your dream and have, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, but you don't really have a good grasp on reality of where you're at now, you can't make a realistic plan to move forward. So it's a really nice way to view that balance of making progress. Bringing that back to language learning and that long journey that is language learning, as I'm sure you'll know, we've actually just finished a course that has this principle without it being overtly stated, but it has it at its core, which is setting SMART goals. Now, SMART goals are nothing new. We haven't invented this. You can Google it. You'll see it everywhere. So people are setting SMART goals in business, for their health, for their fitness, and all sorts of things, finances, and so on. So Leslie Foster, who's the author of this particular course, there's a version of it in the English language teaching training library, and there's a version of it in the language learning training library. She has applied it to the language learning journey. So let me just walk you through really quickly as to how that goes. So SMART, if you're not aware, stands for specific, making your goal extremely specific. Number 2, making it measurable. You don't know if you've hit it if you can't measure whether or not you've achieved it. Making it achievable. That, I think, is the hardest thing for language learning, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Making it relevant. If the goal's not relevant to you or your life, you're not going to spend any energy on it. That's just a human nature. And then making it timely. Putting a deadline on it. We as humans have an inbuilt, reaction to deadlines. We work towards something specific like that. So in terms of language learning, how Leslie's unpacked this a little bit is, first of all, in terms of being specific, we need to be really, really specific about what exactly we need to do. And the more specific, the better. So there's an example in the course about someone wanting to order pizza. Well, that's not specific enough, ordering pizza in the target language. You need to say, are you ordering in person? Are you face-to-face there? Or are you ordering over the phone? Or maybe you're ordering online. Does it matter? Yes, it does matter because of the different skills involved, whether it's listening and speaking, whether it's writing and reading. So you need to be extremely specific about which skills and language you're wanting to work on. Measurable, as I said before, you need to have some way of measuring your achievement. Now, when you're working with numbers, whether it's finances or something like that, measurability is a little bit easier because we all can read numbers. Is it higher or lower, whatever it is you're trying to achieve. In language learning, it's actually not too difficult. Rather than putting a number, am I 75% of the way or whatever, that's not how it works. It's basically, if you have the task specific enough, it's either a yes or no. I can do this or I can't do this. That's the measurability of it. If my goal is to be able to order a taxi and go somewhere and give directions as to where I want to go and pay the right amount of money and understand how much it's going to cost, I can either do that or I can't. It was successful or it wasn't, and I've gone somewhere else, or I've had to look up my dictionary, I've had to ask a friend or something like that. So getting it to where it's the task is achieved or not achieved is the way that we would handle that measurability in language learning. The second thing is achievable. Now, this is the biggest one because language learners very often want to bite off more than they can chew. That's my experience, that's Leslie's experience. They want to, run before they can walk, typically. So people overestimate what they can already do. So breaking the task down into something that is achievable is the biggest part of it. So you don't want to, do a huge thing. You just want to do the smallest thing possible just to get there. And then from there you make the new goal. So it's okay to go really, really tiny when you're making these goals, these SMART goals for your language learning. Relevant, as I said, that's not too difficult. Just choose a topic or something you're going to be doing every day anyway, and that'll keep you motivated because it's relevant to your life and your experience in the target language. And of course, timely. Set a deadline of when you want to be able to achieve that goal and work, plan your way to work towards that. So that's it in a nutshell. Now, the courses that Leslie has developed, take you through all of that a bit more specifically. When we get to the achievable part of the SMART goals, she talks quite clearly about knowing exactly where you are now. This is back to my original statement of, knowing reality and then creating reality. Knowing exactly where you are now on some kind of proficiency measure is really important, because then if you say, okay, I'm A2, this is using this CEFR, the Common European Framework. If you say I'm A2, you're not going to be setting yourself a B2 goal. You're going to play in the same playground where you're at now, to just move in little increments as you go, and working through all of the skills, the listening goals, the reading goals, the writing goals, the speaking goals, and so on. So there is a little piece in there about understanding your current proficiency level for language learners, and obviously if you're a teacher, knowing the levels of your students, where they're at now. You've got to know where they're at in order to make the next small goal for them to be achievable. So that's another really important part. And of course it ties in with proficiency levels, and we have another course on that if you're not familiar with the CEFR or any of the other frameworks. Like there's the Canadian benchmarks, there's the ACTFL, the American Association ones. In New Zealand, typically we use the CEFR, although in primary schools I know they're using what they call the progressions. So here in Language Fuel, we've just chosen to use the CEFR throughout all of our courses because it is global and recognized. So yeah, that's basically how the courses are structured. So understanding how to set SMART goals for language learning. And then the last piece, once you have your goal, which is closely tied to current reality and is imagining the new reality, so imagining that next step for you, then you need to figure out the plan as to how to actually get there. Which types of language learning activities will practice what it is you need to learn? So knowing which skills. If it's reading, then how do you break down that reading task and practice the little pieces that are involved in that? Typically, you're going to need a coach or some other materials to help you, Obviously, if you're a teacher, you will be the input, or you'll provide the input for your students. And then you make the plan as to achieve that goal within the time set that you set with your student or that you set for yourself. So we've just released these courses on the Language Fuel Training Library. So if you're a premium member, they're already there waiting for you. You just have to go to the course catalog, click get this course, and there it is ready for you to take. So I hope that's really helpful for you. If you're not a premium member yet and you're interested in that course, go ahead and start a free trial. I've had a lot of questions recently about the free trial. People have said, can I do this course in the free trial? Can I do that course in the free trial? The answer is you get everything. The free trial is 100% open. You just have 14 days of access to the library. It's like a membership card, right? That's what our memberships are. When you have a library membership card, take out whatever book you like. So in our case, it's check out whichever course you like. Just do, access it in your account. So, but you have 14 days to do whatever. So if you're interested in that particular course, go ahead and start your free trial, add that to your library, and it'll be there for you within those 14 days. So that's kind of it for today. I will actually leave for you the small animation of the classic example that we see a lot when we're doing one-on-one tutoring. So you'll meet Zhang Wei in a minute and see the kind of thing that people say. Otherwise, thanks for listening again. I hope that in whatever area of your life that you'd like to make progress in this year, that you have a really strong grasp on your current situation, being 100% honest, and then that you have the joy to dream the next level and then create a goal and a plan to meet that goal. Ka kite anō. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next time.
Zhang Wei is a businessman from China. He's recently moved to Auckland to set up the New Zealand office for his company. He studied English for many years in his hometown, but he's finding it difficult to actually communicate with the local New Zealanders. He hires a local language tutor to work with him once a week. In their first meeting, he says his goal is to become fluent.
Zhang Wei is typical of the hundreds of learners that Leslie has worked with over the years. Everybody wants to be fluent, but what does that actually mean? Is it fluency or proficiency they're after? What tasks do they want to do? And how realistic is it within the time frame that they expect? Thank you for listening to the Language Fuel podcast. For more episodes and to learn what we do at Language Fuel, please visit www.languagefuel.com.